Okay. All right. Over to you, Tayo.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, depending on where you are, where in the world you are today. My name is Tayo, and I am one of the founders at Sales Lab. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that there's a million and one other things that you've been doing right now, but you're here. So, and that says a lot about you and what you're trying to achieve this year. I have been told that 2026 is the year of the seller. Um, and there are many people across different walks of life that have said to me that selling is maybe one of the greatest skills that you can have as an individual. What we're trying to do at Sales Lab is to give these skills that we all have acquired over the past decade and a half, 2 decades, to everyone, founder, CEO, salesperson, marketer, customer success. We think that it is very important in building businesses, and building businesses is very important for our continent. So whether you're in Cape Town or you are in Marrakesh, um, chances are that you have been told that selling in Africa is different from selling in many other parts of the world. That may be true. And the biggest challenge, the biggest difference is in just knowledge transfer. So Sales Lab has set out to close that talent gap and the skill gap by bringing people together, and these kinds of people who you see here and more of them. Not everyone on the faculty is here. I apologize. But we're bringing them together to be able to share their knowledge. And so what we've put together is a series of cohort-based courses where we take you through a set curriculum in a structured way. It's practical, it's less theoretical than you're used to. And the goal is to help you, one, become a better seller, but also systems and teams that sell better. That's what we're trying to do. And so this session is a crash course, is a very condensed version of what each of those sessions will look like. And so we're starting with something that's very foundational, fundamental to everything that you build, that you do in sales, and it is prospecting. It is in finding the people that you want to sell to, because before you sell to anyone, you have to actually first of all find them. And to do this with me, I have Ayomide Akodu and Sheyi Oke. Sheyi and Ayomide, do you guys want to introduce yourself? Actually, I probably should introduce myself first. My name is Tayo Showale. I currently lead revenue operations for a company called G Gaming. G Gaming is a global game supplier. We work across Europe, Africa, and North America. And I'm responsible for aligning sales, marketing, and customer success. Before G Games, I had previously worked in companies like Seamless HR, where I led business development and partnerships, ULesson Education, where I was VP of sales and marketing, and a couple of other companies across Nigeria and Africa. So yeah, Ayomide, you're up next.
Hi guys. My name is Ayomide Akodu. Currently leading the SMB team at a company called PowerPay. My major role on the team is basically to align everybody as to how best to onboard small, medium-sized businesses across Africa and globally. Been in sales now going on 15 years, and yeah, great to have you guys on board.
Sheyi.
Okay, yeah, my name is Shay. I sell for a living. All right. Yeah, I've been in sales for January 6th, made it 8 years. All right, and I did something in 2024. I tried. I did an experiment in 2024. I left salary paid sales. I went to full commission, sales, role. I wanted to test if it's true I know this thing. I'm just whining myself. And it's mixed feeling. All right. I enjoyed it. I made a lot of money. No, but at the same time, I want Chris. You understand? But it's good to be here as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. So we can jump right in. Today we're going to be talking about prospecting. And there is a fundamental idea to prospecting. Before you say, find me customers, or I'm going to start searching for customers, you have to define what types of customers you're looking for. And it's not just I feel like, or I like to sell to this kind of person, so I'm going to start chasing people who are similar to them. It is an hypothesis of this is the type of people, or these are the kinds of businesses, if you're in B2B, that are more likely to find value in what I'm going to sell to them. Right. And so the problem, and this is a mixed room, so I'm going to try to describe the problem and the solutions from different perspectives. And this is if you're a business leader, a CEO, a founder, if you're in product and you're building products, if you're in marketing and you're generating leads for sales, or if you're in sales and you're experienced and you're struggling to convince founders and business leaders that this is the best result we can get. This is the size of the market. Or if you're new to sales and you're just looking to get into it and you don't know anything about this. So there's different perspectives. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. If I don't see the questions on time, you can raise your hand and I'll check. All right, so one of the biggest failures of prospecting or lead generation is in assuming that more work, more effort always leads to better results. Like, just put 1,000 leads at the top of the funnel, put 10,000 more leads at the top of the funnel. It's an assumption that has been proven wrong multiple times. More leads and more effort only works where quality has been defined, right? Quality has been achieved. And so a lot of people confuse more efforts with effectiveness. And a lot of people think that everyone in their pipeline is of equal value and they just keep going at it. But that's not the case, right? So at the end of this session, what we hope that you're able to do is you're going to be able to define, first of all, explain to others and to yourself why things don't work. You're going to be able to define your own ICP. ICP is ideal customer profile, which is who you're supposed to be prospecting. And then you're going to be able to translate this ICP into your own search. Now, this session, because it's a crash course, will not be as practical as it would be in the paid cohorts, which we're going to start at the end of the month. This is just to give you a taste of what it looks like. And so I'm going to sort of scroll through things a little bit quicker. So there's some slides where you're just going to see, like this one, where I've just talked about volume versus actual quality. There are some times when volume works, obviously after you figured out quality, but there's times if you sell something that is transactional, if you are mostly B2C and you're selling oxygen, right, and people cannot breathe without you. If you're selling gala and it's just or tom, right? But think about what you sell. Obviously this is a joke, but think about what you sell and think about how many potential customers are out there. Most people would overestimate that number But you'll see when we get into the practicality of it, how if that number is ridiculously large, and this is specific to, well, this is maybe more applicable to founders, there's that total addressable market thing that we talk about. It's useful when you're talking to investors, but when you come in-house and you're talking to your own team about commercial strategy and sales numbers, maybe don't use it as much, right? Because total addressable market is very different from the volume or the number of ideal ICP ready people that are out in the market at any one point. Okay, Ayomide, do you want to speak to this slide a little bit about just what happens when, what causes people to fail in prospecting at the start of it?
Yeah, I mean, you've already touched on it. Thank you so much for that. You've already touched on it, and a lot of people just feel like, you know, how do I explain this thing? That makes sense. Let me just say, a lot of people, when they start off with sales, right, they always just have the idea that when I start blasting out emails or I start just blasting out making phone calls, whoever just is willing to have that conversation with me is probably just the ideal person that I'm supposed to be speaking with, or is just the ideal person I'm supposed to be selling. That's not necessarily the case. There's a lot that goes into play when you want to actually, you know, sell to somebody. You have to remember something that they always say when it comes to sales. If I don't have a problem, or if I don't have a challenge, then there's no point having me on the conversation to sell something to me. So that means you need to first of all understand, you know, the challenge that I could possibly be going through or be facing before you can actually even sell something to me, right? And for you to actually even know that, you first need to have a very good understanding of your own solution, and then who that solution, you know, or sorry, what the problem the solution is solving, and who possibly have that problem. Now, that's where the ICP comes into play. A lot of people don't necessarily understand what an ICP is. So the first question I'll throw to everyone, if you guys can just drop a message in the chat, what exactly, and I'm not talking about the meaning of ICP being ideal customer profile, what exactly do you think an ICP means from a sales perspective?
All right, please answer in the chat, or if there's anyone who wants to speak, feel free to raise your hands.
If you're not clear on my question, you can also let me know so I can rephrase the question in a different way. But I want to know, for the guys that are already in sales, what do you think when they say, what's your ICP? What do you think an ICP means from a sales perspective?
It looks like it's just Ayomide and Naida here. I can help. I can respond.
No, don't tire. Don't respond. Don't respond. No, don't respond.
Okay. All right. We have hands up. So Judith is first. Judith, please go ahead.
Ideal customer profile.
Okay.
I'm not.
Yes,
let's
that's
not talk
the
about
definition.
That's the meaning. That's the definition. But what is an ideal customer profile? Okay. I'm seeing someone.
There's another hand up. Abiola is up.
Wait, before I go to Abiola, Yisa, your hand went up first. Sorry.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So I believe an ICP is a customer that you have already identified, a lead that has been properly profiled, and then you have been able to identify this person as a real potential customer. Just to summarize. Yeah.
Okay. Before I go to Abiola, because I see Adeoyi, you have like 4 hands, you've raised up your hand like 3 or 4 times. Adeoyi. Adeoyi, can you hear me?
All right, yeah. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, yeah. So for my own ideal understanding of ICP, just like what someone said earlier, is under sales is under ideal customer profile, which has to do with in sales, why we count it important is the personalization of that customer first. If it is being tailored to what is to be met upon sales margins and the likes, then the value the person is bringing on board and the conversion rate from that person. So when that person is meeting up, that comes together to be saying, okay, it is an ideal customer profile. And upon return on sales also too. So that's like my own ideal knowledge upon that.
Okay, Abiola.
Okay. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. I think everyone has said it all. An ideal customer profile is the person who you have profiled to need your product, who you have researched upon, and you found that this person needs the solution that your product offers, and then you're going for the chase.
Okay, so just because of time, I'm not going to call everybody, but Dora, Judith, Fokwe, please, you can put your answers in the chat real quick before I say what I want to say, because everybody has said the same thing, and to be honest, that's the reason why we are doing what we are doing. So if you can put your answers in the chat, then I'll actually let you guys know if you are correct or if you are wrong. Bukayo. Laura, Judith.
Yeah, my concern was wouldn't that take a longer time to type before you probably start responding?
No, just type. Don't worry. Look, go ahead, type.
The question now feels like a trap.
I don't want anybody to say, "Oh, I was about to say it," so I'm giving you guys, time.
Can I say please?
Oh yes, say it.
Right. So I think from what I've seen in my experience is that I think everyone has talked about researching that particular customer profiling there, but what that profiling means is that the problem they have, sort of the meeting in the middle, the solution you have meet them at the same time. It also means there is like affordability. Those categorization can fall into them being able to afford the product, having like up to that pain point, to the point where they would probably convert, because you can still talk to, maybe when you start talking to a lot of persons, you figure out, okay, great, they have this problem, but it's not enough for them to probably say, oh great, let me pay for this product right now. So that's what that profiling means, or whatever research you're doing before you can say, okay, great, I've specifically found that point that converts this particular type of customer. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So this is the reason why I wanted everybody to speak, because Judith, your answer just came in. So let me just let you guys know, you are not all wrong. But the problem that the reason why we are doing this is because we need to let you know that there's a layer you guys are jumping. You are skipping one very important layer. And that is an ICP is not a person. It's not a prospect. It's actually the account or the business or the organization. That is an ICP. Now, if I'm speaking to Tyler, we are salespeople, and I just drop the word ICP, or in a conversation, and we're having a conversation and I say ICP, he would actually understand what I'm saying. In that context, ICP, when I'm speaking, could be the person, could be the account, could be the whatever. He would understand it. But if we actually want to follow the sales process, right? I knew Sheyi would say so. If you actually want to follow the proper sales definition, the proper sales meaning, when they say ICP, who or what is your ideal customer profile? It's simply the kind of business you are supposed to go after. You have to remember, Tayo gave an example. He said, let's just say you're selling gala. You're doing B2C. You're selling gala. Are you going to walk into a bank? This is just a random example. You're selling gala. You're not necessarily going to just randomly walk into a bank to say you just want to sell gala to just anybody. Or you know what? That's not a good example. Let me change the example. Let me use B2B for instance as a good example. In my field, I sell payments, right? I'm in fintech. I sell payments. Now, I can't sell my solution to Chevron, for example. So they are not my ICP. I can't just look at it from the broad perspective that anybody, a person, you have to first nail the kind of business that you actually need to sell to first. Then there's something called a persona or a prospect. Within an account, that is now the person. That is now where you have somebody putting in the chat a buyer's journey. That's where you now talk about a buyer inside the account. So just so you guys are clear, you need to be able to understand and define what an ICP is correctly. So you know the solution I'm selling is for this kind of business. It's for this kind of account. It's for this kind of organization, first of all. Then, which is why you can see here on the slide, if you define the ICP, then you go into accounts, right? Then, when you kind of like have a very good understanding of where your solution connects with a business, you now start to look out for something called intent. Intent simply means a particular signal or a particular, what will I call it now? Something that should actually give you an assumption that a business or a certain person within that particular account would need your solution, because obviously maybe they're talking about maybe a certain problem. I'll give an example, from my own experience. So like I said, I sell payments, right? And we do payments across Africa. One very significant intent data, if for example, I see Jumia or an e-commerce platform just makes a random announcement on LinkedIn or anywhere, hey, Jumia is now in Kenya. I know they're in Kenya. I'm just making, or let me not use Jumia. Let me call it Tayo e-commerce is expanding from Nigeria into Ghana or Kenya or something. You always have to remember that with expansion, right, going into a new market, the payment is not necessarily the same. The payment infrastructure, the payment system is not necessarily the same, right? So that means when a business from Nigeria is going into a new market, an e-commerce business, they obviously need to have an infrastructure, a payment infrastructure for that market, for the customers to be able to buy on their platform. Now, we sell across Africa. That already is a signal for me to be like, you guys will definitely need, payment solution or infrastructure. So that's just basically what an intent means. So when you have an understanding of all these things, to understand the account prospects, things like that, intent, you will now be able to prioritize intelligently, right? To know who I'm supposed to go after, when I'm supposed to go after this person. And then you also have to remember that with ICP, things change, right? You might have a particular business as an ICP today, and you might just be fixated on that particular ICP or that particular account. I realize somewhere down the line that you actually have a different ICP. I'll give you another good example. When we started off, right, we didn't necessarily even think about remittance businesses like MoneyGram, Western Union and all that. We actually, we've been in business for about 5 years. We just found out last year that, we could actually have remittance businesses as part of our ICP. This is something that went in business that we didn't even think about that. So this is just to let you know that from time to time, right, within whatever organization you are in, you should always remember that your ICP evolves. So you should always find time to go back to your list, go back to the drawing board to actually find the right company that you should be selling to. So yeah, this is just an exercise that we're not necessarily going to skip this.
We're going to skip this because in the full course, these sessions are filled with different points where we actually do an exercise that you relate to your own company. And so this is one of those, but we're just going to skip it. All right, so now we're going to talk about ICP as decision filters.
Sorry, Tayo.
Yeah, go ahead.
Toby had a question in the chat. The question is how is ICP defined in B2C? Where there are no companies, to define? Simple answer: B2C is business to customer, right? So in that particular sense, the customer is the end user like myself, you and I, in that sense, right? So you have to remember that B2B is business to business, but in sense of business, there are so many industries when you put it into business. So solutions, you have to tailor your solutions to a particular industry or particular kind of business. But when we're talking about B2C, it's broad. That one is a lot more, broad than B2B.
Yeah, I think the answer is actually even simpler than that, Ayomide, is that so for B2B, you're talking about the ICP and then the buyer persona, where the persona is the individuals within the account that you're actually going to chase. So I'm going to chase Jumia, but I'm selling financial services, so I'm going to the CFO. But if I'm selling to Jumia and I'm selling HR tech, then I'm going to the CHRO or the head of people and culture. In B2C, the ICP and the persona are pretty much the one and the same. All right. So we've talked about what an ICP is. We've talked about if your ICP is not strong enough, then what will happen is you get an inflated pool of people that you want to sell to. So we'll move forward. I'm just looking at the time here, and it does. Shay, are you there? It doesn't look like we're going to get through everything. So I'm going to.
Don't worry, taking notes.
Okay. All right. So what many people miss when they're putting together their ICP. Again, I don't know if there are any founders in the room. If there's any founders in the room, just indicate by a show of hands. So, the way you think about product market fit and everything that you're doing is a race towards achieving product market fit. But it's not like once you achieve product market fit, you can then take your foot off the pedal and you just be there forever. You have to continue to change things. And product market fit in itself is the market is changing. You're changing your product. Or the market is stagnant, but your product isn't there, so you're improving it. It's the same thing as your ICP. You have an idea. You say, oh, we're selling, I'll use HR software. We're selling HR software that is simple. It's the simplest in the market. Just upload your staff names and account numbers, load money into your wallet, pay salaries, and give them pay slip. We don't do leave and time and attendance and all of that. So because this is our product, we're only going to target companies that have less than 20 people because they're still at the stage where they don't need a lot of complexity. It's an hypothesis. And so you start to try. What you find is that sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. You will find a company that fits the ideal profile that you set. And in talking to them, you find out that maybe 20 is even too large. At 20, people are already thinking about the future. And so they're buying software for the future. Maybe it's 10. And so the entire point of this is it's not static. And it's something to continue to test. And something that you change with more information. Right? And so that's essentially what this slide is talking about here. And you have to be conscious enough, you have to be honest enough to say, yeah, this doesn't work, this isn't working, we're not winning with this type of accounts, or we're not winning with this type of persona inside of accounts like this, so we're going to change things. It's very easy. It's much more easier for founders, sales leaders, business leaders to make this judgment call than it is for me if I have 2 years of sales experience and you've hired me to just come and do the work. That's why it's important that this room is a mixed bag, right? It's important that everyone is here, not just entry-level salespeople, not just seasoned salespeople, and not just founders. There's also product people here as well. It's the same thing, right? And marketers as well, where I say, oh, we're generating the leads, but sales is not closing. But are you generating leads that they can close? Right. And so again, same thing, just know if people are not buying from you. If your conversion rate is 1%, the solution is not, if for every 100 leads that you generate, you're closing 1, the solution is not to go and generate 1,000 leads so that you close 10. The solution is to see what about that 1 is unique. How is it different from all of the others? And how can we find more of this? Or is it just by chance? Is it just a mistake that even this one bought and all the 100 are totally useless? We need to go in a different direction. Doing this helps you save money, save time, increase the quality of your work, reduce your frustration, as an individual, as a team, as a founder, as a marketer, right? And so, yeah, this is another of those exercises that we've built into the course. But this one, I think we can actually take a couple of people that talk to us about what it is that they sell and describe their ICP to us. So if there's anyone that's happy and confident enough to talk, please go ahead. Yes, Dora.
All right. So the name of our company is called Dora, and that's also the name of our product. And what we do at Dora, my name is Emmanuel. You're a geek, co-founder of Dora.
Okay.
Amazing. I think we spoke sometime last year. I had no idea this was the particular class you were talking about. I had a meeting somewhere in November. Yeah.
Yes,
so,
we did. I remember that.
Awesome. So great. So what we sell at Dora, we provide an order and delivery management tool for e-commerce and logistics business. And the reason we provide these two for them is so they can ditch WhatsApp and Excel, which they currently use in managing their operations. So that is the solution we provide for our customers. And this means we have two ICPs, logistics business and e-commerce business. For the e-commerce business, we are looking out for businesses that are currently making use of WP forms from WordPress to manage their orders, and also following up that particular orders from WhatsApp. And for logistics business, we are looking at logistics businesses that are making use of 6 cover notes, WhatsApp, and Excel to manage their entire logistics operations. And to qualify these ideal customers, we are looking at e-commerce businesses that are processing over at least 6,000 orders in a month. And if they are processing 6,000 orders in a month, these also indicate that they have at least 15 staffs that they are working with at the moment. So if businesses don't meet this specification, especially they are not making use of WordPress to run their orders and WhatsApp to follow that up, we usually disqualify them, or they can just go straight to our free plan, since maybe they are doing a small number, they are doing 200, 500. That's also, we love that for them, but they can just go and use our free platform. We just keep looking at persons doing that number. For the same number also relates to e-commerce persons. For persons making use of Shopify, yet they've not fallen into our ideal customer type, because we have to make sure we build something to help them connect to Shopify. So till we do that, we are just focusing on persons using WordPress, and inside the WordPress, WP form, Ninja form, and WhatsApp and Excel to run their operations at the moment. So that is what we look at, and that's our process for qualifying these persons before we follow them up.
Yeah, Emmanuel, I want to give you a hug. This is the best first attempt at ICP that I've heard in a long time.
In a long time. Same here.
Yes.
Same here. Same here.
I love it. And guys, it's very easy to see where the disqualified, like the most important thing is, if you can't do this, if you are not at this point, if we can't do this for you, if you don't have this problem that we can solve, you're not in our ICP. It's very, very clear. Is there anyone else that wants to go? Happy to take one more and then I can give some feedback. Utsibezand went up first the other time, so I'll let him go first, and Fokwe next.
All right, thank you, everyone. I joined, I think, a bit late. Utsibezand is my name. I work for a firm, Walla Health. Walla Health is an insurtech company, and I'm new to sales. Let me just say that, and I'm just working in sales, and I get to learn about what ICP is and the rest. Seeing this for the first time, I took interest and I clicked on Sales Lab and to get more insight. Actually, we have a micro health insurance product known as Zoe, which syncs with different platforms such as fintech, lifestyle platforms, and the rest. Actually, the idea, please don't be forced, so just wait, let me don't be.
What's the ICP? What's the ICP? Describe the ICP.
I think the ICP is digital platforms like fintech and platform that have some utility bills that we can embed our API to to embed our API. Those are as our ICP that we are looking up to.
All right.
Actually, like I said, I'm new to sales, so I'm trying to get this whole thing understanding.
That's fine.
So yeah,
that's why we're here.
Yeah, thank you. So I wouldn't want to say more. All I just say is that Zoe is a platform where we are able to. The idea is to be sure that Nigerians, almost all Nigerians, could access micro health insurance for less than 1,000 naira or less than $1, as it's stated. The reason is a lot of persons. If you could look many years ago, a lot of persons.
You're starting to sell to us.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Fola has to go next so that we can move on.
Thank you
we're
very much.
Incredibly behind. Yeah. Fola, are you ready?
Hi, good evening.
Fokpe Folua. I apologize. Fokpe. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, fine. Okay, first off, I'm from marketing, right? But I joined the class so that we could get strong leads for the sales team. Yeah, so I work for Tech Hive Advisory, and we're building a product called Data Olinzi, and it's an all-in-one privacy compliance platform for businesses navigating different data protection laws across Africa and Middle East. So
is that digital?
Yes.
Okay, go on.
So our target industry would be fintech and digital finance platforms, telecom and internet service providers, health tech and digital health platforms, e-commerce, edtech, and maybe regulatory bodies. An organization size would be mid-market technology companies, startup scaling across different jurisdictions, like maybe the likes of Paystack, the likes of Yellow Card, people that operate across different jurisdictions. So the idea is for them to get to be able to manage the expectations from these different jurisdictions. So geography would be Africa and Middle East. So like the decision maker personnel, like you mentioned, would be maybe the chief compliance officer or head of compliance, or the CTO or CIO, or maybe the founder, right? Then their business needs to regulatory intelligence, automated compliance workflows. Then for disqualifiers, maybe people that don't see regulatory pressure, they operate entirely outside regulated data environment, or they don't handle personal sensitive data. That's like a disqualifier. And if they demand lowest cost tools without regard for value, that's also a disqualifier. And maybe they don't have a data processing workflow yet. So I think that's my attempt.
Thank you, Ayomide. There are a couple of people on the faculty who have also built and led marketing teams as well. And we always have this conversation about who should lead the ICP creation. Obviously, my bias and everything that I know says that it should be sales. And I think that the point here is, if I put everything that you said into a search, I will get maybe across Africa, maybe 1 million businesses. that fits the criteria, that everything that you said. If I then try to find decision makers that you said, assume that each one has 3 key people who would be involved in taking a decision. That's 3 million. It's already too many people for your sales team to start to like work on. So when you started to speak, I started to write down, and you said fintech, digital platform, digital financial services, and I just couldn't keep up. There are maybe like 6 different types of people that you're trying to sell to. And when you talked about size, you said mid-market tech companies. And again, that is just very vague, right? So in the paid classes, what we'll typically do is spend some time, you get a workbook where you write these things down, and we'll work with you step by step to go through how we think that ICP should work. And if from a marketer's point of view, again, if you're trying to advertise to and acquire leads from 3 million people, the costs and the efforts and the strategies and the tactics is quite different from if you were able to go from 3 million people who are just across the continent to a laser focus of 300 accounts, right? And so this is the importance of like just doing great work on your ICP that we're seeing. Ayomide, do you have any comments here before I go into just showing something quite practical?
No comments from me. You already touched on, what I was going to tell folk, where it was really vague, really vague. Well, you already touched on it.
Okay, so I'm going to Oribukola, I see your hand. I'm just trying to get past this next and then actually, do you mind typing your question in the chat? Okay,
yeah, it's okay. It's not the question. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I'm sharing something that just sort of underlines the things that we've talked about to this point. And this is about prospecting. This platform I'm showing is Apollo. It's a platform that I absolutely love. One of the topics that we're going to be, one of the topics in the curriculum for the paid cohort is CRM and CRM hygiene. And so we'll go over a couple of CRMs. Apollo is one, Pipedrive is another. I think Clay is another tool that we're going to talk about. But yeah, so generally speaking, you see that this is split into 2. There's people and then there's companies. We're going to go into intent a little bit later, but I can sort of talk about it now. First thing that Apollo is asking me to do, it says smarter lead suggestions start here, add a scoring model to start saying companies tailored to your ideal customer profile. So take a look at this. I'm going to so look at what I'm being asked to do here. It says to create a signal, and I can create this signal for people or for companies. This one is for people. This is recently promoted. And this is persona. Okay, and then there's more on companies, and I can go on.
Sorry, Ty, let me throw something into
okay,
for everyone. Does everybody understand what intent or signal means? Like, if you don't understand it, please just raise your hand. Okay.
There's quite a few people. That's good.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
Okay. So that I'm just trying to simplify it so you can understand what IO is doing. Okay, so intent, when you hear intent or signal, some people say intent signal, right? It simply means, just so you know, layman's terms, information that would help you to make an assumption that somebody or a company would be interested in buying your solution. So if you remember, I said something about an e-commerce platform making an announcement that they are expanding into a new market. When I see that, that's already an intent or a signal. If you also see, Tyler just put in recently, like a trigger, thank you.
Yes,
You know, people use different words. Some people call it trigger, some people call it intent, some people call it signals, whatever. So when you hear things like that, Tyler just put in recently, was it recently hired or recently
promoted?
I don't know. Yes, recently promoted. Now, if for example, somebody just gets a promotion to maybe head of sales, the assumption right there, if I'm selling, maybe I'm a sales consultant, this is just a random example. The assumption there is, oh, head of sales, he's probably looking to maybe restructure the whole team. He'll probably be looking to hire some more people on his team, maybe like junior business development or salespeople. Now, that already is an intent or a trigger or a signal. So just so you know, there's certain information that you need to look out for within your industry or within your business, right? That will make you make that assumption that there's a business or there's a person that is looking to buy a solution. So Apollo, Clay, all those things you're talking about, those are the tools that, you know, you can use to find those things. This is Apollo that Tayo is showing us right now. Clay 2 is a very good one that you can use to find intents or signals.
Yeah. So I'm going to, thanks a lot. So I'm going to, your explanation has meant that I can just like shortcut it. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a scoring criteria here. I'm saying that if an account shows high, you see this is company. This one here says company momentum. If the account shows high buying intent, if they show rapid growth, then add them to give them an excellent score. If a persona that used to be a former champion at one of my accounts joins this company, move them here. If somebody in the company is promoted to a new role that I care about, or if they hired somebody into a role that I would want to sell to, move them here. And now, if this person opens, or if anybody from this company opens any of my emails in the last 2 weeks, rank them as excellent. Next thing I will do is just assign scores to this excellent, good, fair that I've done. And so when I submit that, I've essentially created a template for my lead generation. So it will help me continue to build a list of companies that look like that, and will always alert me when there are people that have taken the actions that I'm interested in. This is the whole essence of what we've been talking about. And you have to be able to do this. So Apollo does it for you, but it's you, remember, it's you that's putting in the information, right? So it's dependent on the information you give it. So I'm going to exit this and just go back to what I was sharing. Questions? I heard the sound. If you have a question, please go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. So this is Abiola again. So I'm quite familiar with Apollo. I just want to know how good Apollo is with identifying, when it comes to this intent, how strong the buying, if an ICP has buying intentions, how are they able to evaluate that? Do they evaluate that properly? Well, can it be trusted to be such that if they suggest that a certain company or a prospect, has high buying content, you can actually trust that they do have high buying content intent?
Generally speaking, the simple answer is yes. I think the better answer is it depends. It depends on the things that constitute strong signals or strong intents for you or your industry. It also depends on, unfortunately, location. and things like cookies that the person has set and securities and their activities online, and do they use a VPN to put them in the right place that is important for you. So there's a lot of things. And so the quality of the output that you get is dependent on the quality of the information that you give and your setting. This setup that I was just doing, like you would typically spend hours building that. It depends on sometimes your technology and the cookies on your own website, right? And the settings for your search. So for instance, some people have Google alerts for certain names or certain things, like all those things matter. So yeah, the simple answer is yes. Obviously works better in the West than it does for us, unfortunately.
All right, thank you.
Just to add again, it also depends on your knowledge of your industry, right?
Yeah.
If you know your industry very well, there are certain signals that you can see that will just make you remember the word I always put there. Signals or information help you make an assumption. Doesn't mean that, oh, I saw you expanding, so that means you're definitely going to need. No, you could already have gotten it to sort it out. But it's an assumption that you can say this is somebody to try and reach out to see if they would need the solution that I have. So it depends on your knowledge base too.
All right, we are at the midway point, but we have spent 60% of our time, so I have to sort of scroll through. We talked about this before and why we're here and why Sales Lab has been put together. We think that sales and salesmanship across Africa can be better. We work with a number of businesses, a number of founders across multiple countries, across multiple industries to fill sales roles. And over the last few months, it has become incredibly clear to all of us that there's opportunities. Every day, people have roles open. There are people looking for sales roles. Every day, I get CVs, I immediately get CVs, everybody gets CVs to say, I'm looking for this role. But there seems to be a mismatch in the skills and the opportunities that are open. In November, we went through 40 interviews trying to fill 3 roles for one of our clients at a company that I work with, and we're only able to extend an offer to 1 person. So what is missing? What is the challenge? We think that challenge is not a lack of natural talent. It's a lack of sometimes the fundamentals and the foundations of sales. Sometimes it's a lack of just the ability to build systems. So this is not just in entry-level people, it's also in us sales leaders to explain things and build systems and help people understand how we're thinking about these things, the results that we want. And more recently, there's also been a gap in the adoption of skills, of tools, tools and AI, not just like Apollo and stuff, but AI tools as well. Those are, huge levers for you to pull to turbocharge your abilities. Our solution, obviously, is to put together a field of seasoned experts, and some of you might know some of the people in the faculty already. Like I said, it's not everyone that's here, but these are people who have done these things, who are still doing the work, and are happy to share their knowledge with the rest of us. And so starting at the end of January / start of February, we're going to have cohort-based courses, entry-level, mid-level, and sales leadership that any of us can join. Because you're here today, you automatically get a 10% discount should you decide to sign up to any of those, any of the first couple of cohorts. The barcode here gives you direct access to that. So if you want, you can take a picture of it, you can scan it. I'm going to leave it on for a few more seconds, and then we're going to continue our class. If you have any questions so far about Sales Lab, feel free to put it in the comments. There is, I believe that there is an email address that you are able to reach out to us on as well. I can just put that in the chat.
Emmanuel has his hand up. I believe I can see Dora, but I believe you say your name is Emmanuel.
Yes, it's Emmanuel. Emmanuel, go ahead.
All right. So you are talking about the West earlier on, and how the two function properly in Western countries than maybe at this part of the world. Have you ever come across a tool that actually helps in generating leads in the informal sector, especially here in Nigeria? You want to be able to close some businesses, but when you jump on tools like Apollo or Clay, you figure that they use information from LinkedIn, places like that. And you know the type of customers a lot of times they're looking for has no business with LinkedIn. They are not consistent with it's not written on their forehead on Instagram that they do this business. They just have like different weird way they are structured. And maybe the best place you can probably find them at lead is probably to go and start tracking them on Facebook ads library where they are probably running ads and trying to find them. So have you ever come across a tool that does a great job, especially for businesses there, to be able to find them as leads? I know you can use other method, maybe because use ads to get them as a lead, but outside that, have you been able to find like one tool that works like Apollo that allows you to generate leads from those informal businesses or B2B businesses?
There was a time, my brother, yes, there was a time in the not too distant past when, in order to generate leads, in order to book a meeting, you had to enter bus and go to people's offices and knock the door and try to sweet talk your way past the receptionist. That's the only tool that I know that can do that kind of thing. But it goes to the point, I know that I joke about it, but it goes to the point of ICP as well. People like companies like LinkedIn and Apollo do not seem to think that there is enough value in the informal space, right? So they're not building solutions for that. I'm not sure that there's a way to do it. I don't know. I'm obviously not as smart as those people, but I don't know that there's a way to do it. So no, I have not, to answer your question more directly. All right. Is it okay to go on? All right. So we can push forward, take a few more slides, and then we can do a Q&A at the end. All right. So we were saying that the link between the search results that you get on a tool like Apollo and it is direct to the quality of the ICP that you've defined. So for everyone, founders, salespeople, every time you do a search and you get an outsized result, you get a larger result than you by yourself know to make sense. Be honest and refine. It's better for you to spend time refining your search parameters and your ICP definition than for you to spend effort and money chasing all of those people. Fokwe, this one's for you. All right. Another exercise that we would have done, again, you see that the goal is to make this as practical as possible. And by this, I mean actual cohorts that we're going to be taking. This crash courses was keeping all of it. But what we would have had you do is log into your Apollo, create your ICP, and give us 5 to 10 accounts that you want to chase. And then we'll ask you, like, look at each one of them. We'll do research, open their website, search for a few people from the companies, think of what you're selling again, think of what they do, and does it match? We'll give you honest answers, you give us honest information, and does it work? If it works, then by all means, keep going. At your outreach, like email them. Obviously, we'll do another session that talks about messaging and actual outreach using all of these tools. We've talked about intent. These are some examples of what intent is. And what isn't. Ayomide, do you want to speak a little bit more about signals, intent, triggers, and how they are not all the same?
I would have loved to, but I just remember that before giving Shay the floor.
All right.
Carry the floor.
No, I'll pass it to you.
No. I mean, just share your thoughts. I mean, we're all sharing thoughts together. And
okay, so basically, I already talked about it before that you have to remember that with signals, intents, and all those things, right? It's not certain. You can't just assume that when you see something, you see a particular trigger, it just simply means that, oh, these people, they're the best people to reach out to. If you remember what Tayo was trying to do, there are certain intents that are, low, but let me call them signals. There are certain signals that are very low, some are high, some are medium. That depends on you within the business, your leaders within the business, to let you know, okay, when we have certain signals, that this actually would be an excellent business to go after. Some cases will be 8, some will be low. So you also have to, there's something called timing also. Timing also is very key, because there are some signals that might seem very strong, but it's not necessarily the right timing for you to go after them. So they're just different things to bear in mind when you're actually going after this information, right? So don't just assume that just because you've seen a trigger, it's enough for you to just jump in there and just start trying to sell to someone. It's not necessarily enough. There's still a lot more work that you have to do to fully understand, or to fully decide, who would actually be a top tier person to reach out to. So yeah, that's just my take. Shay, over to you.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you very much, Ayole. You see, the way I look at intent and signal, it's a bit tricky for me. For example, when I was talking about using maybe a trigger that maybe a company is expanding to another country, to know whether they need their services. In my head, I'm thinking, if you get to hear about it in the news, you're already late. It's just like when you're investing in stock market. By the time you get to hear about it in the news, you're already late. But what I would say from the point of maybe triggers and intent is, so when you look at the score that Tayo showed using Apollo earlier, it's two things. One, to show you where they are and to show you where they are going to. All right. So, for example, even if you miss one, let's say, for example, using the same example that Ayomide gave, this company expands to Ghana, it shows you that maybe they are looking at expanding to other West African countries. All right. So you might have missed the train for Ghana, but how do you position yourself to be there when they are expanding to Togo? How do you position yourself when they are expanding to, you know, another West African country? All right. So let me use the word intent or trigger is more of a spiritual this thing. You just want to just, you know, feel it. I feel it in my spirit, you know. So, but it works, all right. It works both for that ICP that you defined, and you know, when you're also defining your ICP, when you see a company A, you're looking at, okay, which other company is following company A? So if company A does make a move, what will the other companies do? So let me give an example and I'll end with this. In Nigeria, iFitness is a very wonderful fitness company. All right, they have you know, outlets in different parts of Nigeria. Now, iFitness is like an industry leader. Whatever iFitness does, most other fitness company will do. So, for example, if iFitness increase their subscription fee, just be rest assured that the other fitness companies will increase theirs. All right. So, after developing your ICP, this is the company that fits into this. Okay, who are the leaders? What could make things shift? All right. So when you're looking at intent, you're using that to also judge if the leader in this, or if a supposed big boy or a big, you know, company in this industry moves, other industries will also move. So if let me think. The moment Flutterwave goes public, say they do an IPO, there's a chance that in the near future, other payment gateways will go that route. So if you're offering something around that line, how do you position yourself? All right. So intent are to guide you. All right. And you know, you can just guide you with your intuition at the same time. Please, salespeople, I will tell you, intuition works with sales. All right. Intuition works with sales. If you feel it, go for it.
Right.
All right. That's how I'll explain it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Shay. So, guys, we're almost out of time, so I'm going to rush the last few slides. So we've talked about intent, we've talked about ICP, and this way to prioritize. Prioritization is important because you cannot sell to everyone, not with the same level of energy. Like, it takes resources to sell. It takes time. It takes preparation. And so the way to prioritize is, there are a number of businesses on your list. You've drawn up a list, they all fit the ICP. Intent or triggers is what lets you know, and it's not that they are ready, it's that there's just a sign that they might be moving right now. They might be more likely to buy today than they were yesterday. Right. And so this slide sort of talks about that. I'm trying to make sure that we have exactly 15 minutes for questions. So I'm going to just show you guys what's in the rest of the slides. And if there are any specific questions from any one of them, just let's handle those for the next 15 minutes. Okay, so this is another exercise that you would have had to do in the full course. Yeah, and there's this one about list decay. Does anyone know what list decay means? You can type or you can raise your hands. It's actually very simple. I forgot to say something at the very start. I forgot to say that we are giving away one free seat in the first cohort on this call. And the way that we had said we'll decide the recipients is just by engagement. Obi has been measuring engagement. I don't know what his criteria would be. But yes, I totally forgot. I apologize. But yeah, Abiola.
All right. Okay. So I do not previously have any prior knowledge to what a list decay may mean, but from the slide I just read, I want to believe that list decay simply means maybe your prospect list running out of relevance. Maybe just as the slide says, companies change. So leaving a company in your prospect list for too long, might cause your list to not be as relevant as it should be. Signals expire, times change. Companies adjust. Just like one of the speakers said, a company might not be ready to buy at the moment, but a company might have been ready to buy 2 weeks ago, and right now they're not ready to buy anymore. Priorities shift, things like that.
Yep, exactly that. Quite simple. I'm going to move to the next slide. See if there's something interesting there. Okay, so this is what you have to do to. Oh man, what's that? Okay. Yeah, so this is a heartbreaker for anybody in sales. This is if you're in marketing, if you're not in sales, if you're in any other function, not in sales, including if you're a founder, I need you to know that salespeople try. They work hard. But sometimes you can do all of the right things and things just don't work. The advantage of having done the right thing in a systemized way is that you can isolate different parts of the system and try to fix something. So like you can make it scientific. You can say the only thing I'm going to change is my messaging or the channel that I use to message. You can say the only thing I'm going to change is even the timing. Or you could say, you know what, maybe we can change it, we can redo the ICP. Or you could look at the ICP and say, you know what, it looks like we're having some luck with these types. So maybe it includes customers that have between 20 and 50 employees, customers that are doing 5 to 6K orders. But you find out from your data, and again, data is another thing that we're going to be taking care of in the course, how to use data and insights to make decisions. But you might find that, we're having some luck with a small subset of this ICP. Maybe we can take a pause on everyone else and run a test for the next 4 to 6 weeks on this one that seems to be doing well. Maybe if we focused on it, right? And in doing that, essentially, you're cleaning your list, right? Or you might say, maybe the challenge, let's look at everything we've done over the last week. It looks like we haven't followed up on all of these guys. We followed up on these types of ones, but we've somehow left these ones. Maybe that's what we need to do. These ones that have told us, oh, call me back in 2 weeks. Maybe we should start calling them back. There's just something that you can do if you have a system. If you do not have a system and you are just doing what we call anywhere belephis, you're just throwing everything at the wall and hoping one sticks, then you can't improve it. It's not a system that you can improve. It's just trial and error, right? I believe we are at the end of the slides now. Okay, so yeah, we are close to the end. So this is where we are. This is what good prospecting looks like. You've developed your ICP. Emmanuel, you have qualifiers and disqualifiers. You are constantly refreshing your list. You have a logic to prioritize. This person is on our ICP list, they fit perfectly, and then the intent is high. So we'll put them at the top. Sales has to work on them first. Marketing has to continue to warm them up. And then after that, they fit ICP, but intent is not there. There are no triggers. So we'll keep watching. We'll keep, nurturing them. They're still in the list, right? And that's how you sort of think of what do we need to improve? Where are we failing? What do we need to add, right? And yeah, we can take questions now, I believe. Ayomide.
Yes, we can. And we already have Emmanuel and Abiola with their hands up. So, Emmanuel, your hand went up first. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'd like to ask, how do you? So you mentioned something specifically, which is sales takes time. It's something I've come to probably realize as founder. It takes time, and you cannot rest. Everybody could just a shake because you literally want to see what's uh, happening. So how do you bring out a timeline and say, once I do this specific number, once I do this for this couple of days, I'll look at my process, I'll measure what I've done, and then try to figure out if something is wrong, and try to start isolating it. So how do you come up with timelines? I know it might be different for different problems or different products, but what's that timeline? And another thing I would like you to talk about is, I think you should let them know that sometimes everything, the ICP, your process might just be great and the product might not, the pricing might not, the pricing of the product, because something I've seen is that you can do all these things and you figure that, okay, this guy has this problem, but this problem is not that much that is going to pay this money for that problem to go away. So pricing might not fit in that moment. And yeah, but go on craze and craze that if you can actually go, yeah. So.
This is a great couple. Yeah. This is a great couple of questions. So let me answer the first one first because it's shorter. In terms of timelines, it depends on your sales cycle. Depends on the length of your sales cycle. It really is that. There's nothing you can do. If you're in B2B and you're selling something that companies really care about, like come and change your finance ERP, and you sell to head of finance and he needs to go and convince CFO, you and him need to go and convince CFO and the rest of the finance team. And then they're like, okay, we think it's good, but we need you to talk to compliance and security. And then, okay, we're good. Then we need to take it to the CEO. And then we need to take it to the board. Like, there's nothing you can, as long as there's progress in your sales process, I think you're good. You can't, there's really nothing to change. Well, there could be progress, but you want more. So you can start working backwards and say, yeah, how do we get more of this kind of account? But you can't just, like it depends on the length of your sales cycle. The second thing that you said, I actually meant to talk about at the start, pricing and quality of products. I already answered it, but let me give you my own answer. So what an ICP, the way I think about the ideal customer for you is, you know your product, you know the problem that you solve, or rather you have an hypothesis on the problem that you solve or that your product solves. So you think of who is the kind of customer, and this is a business, obviously, and this applies to anything actually. Who is the customer that this problem is very important to? Who's the customer that has this problem that my product solves? That's the first thing. So how do they currently solve this problem today? The ways that currently solve this problem, when I show them my own solution, do they agree with me? Do they agree with my product and the way that we solve their problem? Do they agree that that's the best way or that's a good way? And then after that, is this something that they are willing to pay for? Let me give you a simple random example. You could take Uber from Surulere to Lekki. It will cost you 10,000. I don't know. Let's call it 20,000. No, 10,000 is good, so that I can say it's not too much money to go from Surulere to Lekki. So you pay 10,000. Or you could take a bus and you pay 500 naira or 1,000. For some people, the the comfort of being able to request the Uber from your house to go to Lekki is great. Uber solves a problem for them, right? But when they think of the pricing, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would I pay 10x more just so that you can come and sometimes I have to wait for you, and sometimes you don't have AC. Let me just take one bike to the bus stop and take a bus, 1,000. But for some people, neither of those things work. There's a middle ground, which is take a yellow card, right? It's not that you don't miss them. It's not that they don't see your products. It's not that you get to do the demo. They'll tell you, oh yeah, this is really nice. It's everything we need. But they're not going to buy. It's not because your product doesn't solve a problem. It's not because they don't seem like the kind of person. If you give it to them for free, yeah, maybe they would buy it, they would use it. And that's the thing about when you were talking about, I think it was, I'm not sure if it was you, Abdullah, talking about the intent. Like, can Apollo find intent for you? It's those kinds of things, right, that it's just difficult in our own clients, where somebody is researching, somebody wants to buy HR software, and they take a demo with a company that sells HR software to Sterling Bank and GT Bank. They take a demo with a company that sells HR software to a smaller company, a mid-sized company. Then they take a demo with you as well, where your product is for SMEs, right? Now, it's possible if you don't define your triggers properly, if you don't define the things that constitute intent. Once I start searching for Seamless HR or Bamboo HR, you think that, oh, they're looking for HR software, let's quickly go and sell to them. But it's really a waste of time. I'm never going to do that, because I'm looking for an ERP that can pay in Zimbabwe and in the UK and in Spain and India. Whereas you don't even do payments at all. You just help your customers calculate things, right? So that's the way I think about it. For product people, for founders, it's good that Emmanuel is a founder and is asking that question. But yeah, sometimes pricing is, a lot of the time, most of the time, pricing is a key factor. Yeah, thank you so much for this question.
Abiola, you have your hand.
Okay. So I think I have two questions. So first one is something I've experienced a lot of times, where you keep on finding ICPs that have a certain problem that your product has a solution to, but they're not exactly. Putting you in situations where you have to tweak one or two things for your product to work for these ICPs. And it wouldn't be a problem if it was just a one-time thing or a two-time thing, but then it then keeps on happening consistently, and it almost seems as if your company or your product always has to just adjust something to suit a certain solution. Not simply because the solution is far from what, not because the problem is far from what your solution can cater to, but your solution just has to tweak a bit to be able to be tailored to this ICPs, and then it then tends to cause issues for the companies, because almost every time you always have to tweak something. So how do you tackle those kind of situations? Do I ask my second question now, or wait for you to answer the first question?
Go ahead and ask the second one.
Okay, so second one is so in the process of building your ICP lists, how do you deal with fear? Because sometimes fear can interfere with your process. How do I mean? You can sometimes you might just see some certain ICPs, and they might not exactly be ideal, but you just want to add them to the list so that you're not probably missing out on a possible deal that you could close. So sometimes I think, let's just say, how do you deal with emotions interfering with the process of building your ICP list?
Okay, let me take the second one. I'm gonna be honest. I face things head on. I don't necessarily. This is me, my own experience. That this is what I'm speaking for myself. So it might be different for Tyler, but for me, I just face things head on, and I don't necessarily bother myself much about fear. Right? I embrace it a lot, and I think that's something that sales, has helped me to build over time. I think rather than focusing on the fear, if you already have, let's just say you already have a very good understanding of the ICP, the prospects, and the triggers and every single thing, right? Once you have that understanding, just use that to hit the nail on the head. You don't necessarily need to. I don't see how you should have fear when it comes to building an ICP, because you have to also remember that you're not necessarily building it alone. It's not an individual task. It's more a collective from a business standpoint. So if if the business, if you are the team, the executives, every single person has come up with particular ICP, a particular prospect of people to go after, right? Even though yes, it changes, and you have to remember that things change based on what you guys, the experience, when you start talking to people, things like that. But in terms of fear while building an ICP, I'm not necessarily sure fear comes in. I think the only part for salespeople where fear comes in is where you're having objection to people, right? That's my own experience. Even after doing sales for this long, I still get on the phone sometimes and I'm blabbing, right? That's the only time where I think, I won't even call it fear at this point. I think I would just say for confidence and confusion, not necessarily fear. So I would say for me, like, don't bother much about it. Find a way to embrace your fear and just, face things head on, hit the nail on the head, and you'll be fine. That's just the best way I can put it. Then, in terms of the first question where you said having to tweak things, the best way I can answer that from my own experience, it depends on where your business is. In the sense, is it a startup? Is it a scale-up? Is it a big business? It depends. And it depends on the industry your business is also playing in. Because a very good example I give, when we started, when the company I work for, where I work, when we started off, we kind of just had our mind on a particular direction. We were not necessarily thinking where we are now. We're not really thinking about it. We had to make certain adjustments to fit, the market that we are going after right now. And the adjustments we made came from suggestions from customers and all that. Now, you also have to remember that when you're building a product, if you have a product team, it's their duty, it's their responsibility, along with every other person in the organization, because the responsibility of those guys to take those feedback and kind of find a way to validate, if that would be a good idea to add those features, and if it will actually take the company in the direction that they're going in. Now, that's the best way I can answer that question. It's something that the wider team will have to actually sit down and decide if they want to go in that direction. But I feel like if a particular feature, a particular update or upgrade to a particular solution that you're selling kind of puts you guys in a position to hit product market fit, and you're not necessarily deviating from what it is that you guys started to build. If you're sure you validated it from the start, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Right? Like I said, it depends on where you are. Time.
Right. All right.
So let me just chip in something to that question, and let me start with the context of fear for you. You see, I need to understand that everything in life is information.
Sorry, Shay, not to interrupt. Just letting you know that we're already 5 minutes past time.
All right, so everything in life is information. All right, and the market always tell you what it needs because you saw a need in the market and you develop a product and you're defining your ICP. So even if you get it wrong, by the time you are talking to people and the way they are responding to you, one of the things I do is that I make sure I give myself feedback every week. So every Saturday or Sunday before I start my new week, I look at what I did in the last week. I haven't go to be part of the sector that gave me much the highest response that last week. So I use those information to know what I'm going to do the next week. So don't be scared to see, just start, do the ICP that you think is correct. All right. Once you start talking to them and you start from there, you start learning, oh, this is not the people I need to talk with, or this is not the sector I need to consider. All right. Then also, I think it was mentioned earlier, ICP is not something that is static, it changes with time and trend and with the market. All right. So ICP is not something that you just write and just put on, just print on one rock and say this is what I'm following for the next 10 years. It will change with time. So don't be afraid. Then first question on when they are saying you are making a tweak, the market will tell you what it needs. The market will tell you what it needs. If you have enough people in the market telling you they need that this is their problem, not one person, not two people. Enough people in the market telling you that this is their problem, then that's when you can ask, okay, I think we need to consider adding this as a feature, or reconstruct what we are offering. So I think that can help. But please, everything in life is information. If you fail, is information. It's not failure, it's just a way of how not to do something. So don't be scared. Thank you.
All right. That's all we have time for today, unfortunately. Emmanuel, I see your hand up, but unfortunately we're out of time, beyond out of time even. So catch you guys next time, and hopefully see some of you in the paid classes. This 10% discount is valid for another week or so, I think. Yeah. Cheers, everyone. Have a good rest of the evening.